The sound of a MotoGP engine at full throttle is usually a symphony of power, but inside the Monster Energy Yamaha garage at Jerez, it sounds like a crisis. Toprak Razgatlioglu, the man they call the Stuntman, the three-time world superbike champion who redefined the limits of what a motorcycle can do, is sitting on a flight case with his head in his hands. He has just finished a testing session that was, by all accounts, a disaster. The stopwatch doesn't lie, and right now, it's telling a story of a dream turning into a nightmare. No one inside the paddock expected what would unfold next. After years of fans begging for the Turkish star to move to the Premier class, the reality of 2026 has hit like a high side at 200 kilometers per hour. Toprak wasn't brought to Yamaha to be a mid-pack filler. He was brought in to be the savior of a project that has been sliding toward irrelevance. But the bike beneath him, the legendary YZR M1, is currently refusing to cooperate. It's a collision of worlds. A rider who lives on the edge of the front tire, and a machine that seems to have forgotten how to find grip at the rear. And from that moment, nothing would ever be the same for Toprak, his team, or the future of Yamaha's racing DNA. But behind that calm expression Toprak usually wears for the cameras, pressure was building fast within the Yamaha hierarchy. For over 2 decades, Yamaha was the last bastion of the inline-4 engine, a philosophy built on corner speed and buttery smooth transitions. But in the modern era of ride-height devices and massive aerodynamic downforce, that philosophy has become a liability. To save their MotoGP project, Yamaha did the unthinkable. They officially scrapped 20 years of tradition to build an all-new V4 prototype for the 2026 season. This wasn't just a mechanical change, it was a desperate gamble. The V4 configuration was supposed to provide the raw acceleration needed to fight the Ducatis, but early data from the Jerez circuit suggests the transition has opened a traction void. The engine is screaming, the top speeds are finally competitive, but the bike has become a nervous, unmanageable beast. Some insiders in the paddock began whispering that Yamaha had traded their soul for horsepower, and in the process, they had created a bike that no one, not even a talent like Toprak, could tamely exit a corner with. Yet the real turning point happened away from the cameras, in a heated debrief that would set the tone for the entire Spanish round. Inside the garage, whispers began spreading about the tension between Toprak and the Japanese lead engineers. Toprak's riding style is a technical anomaly. He is famous for stoppy entries, where the rear wheel is hovering inches off the ground as he dives into a corner. It's a style that demands incredible front-end feel. However, the M1 V4 is currently behaving like a square peg in a round hole. When Toprak tries to pick the bike up and crack the throttle, the rear tire simply spins, lighting up in a cloud of blue smoke without translating that power into forward motion. This isn't just a rider adaptation issue, it's a fundamental physics problem. In the modern MotoGP era, if you can't find traction in the first 50 meters of a corner exit, you are a sitting duck. Technical analysis of Toprak's telemetry showed he was losing nearly 0.3 of a second on every major acceleration zone. He explained to his crew chief that the bike felt disconnected, as if the electronics and the mechanical grip were speaking different languages. For a rider who grew up on the aggressive, sliding nature of superbikes, the M1's refusal to hook up was becoming a psychological weight he hadn't prepared for. But what the paddock discovered next shocked everyone. Toprak wasn't just asking for software updates, he was demanding a structural overhaul. And from that moment, the narrative shifted from adaptation to ultimatum. According to reports circulating from the Jerez paddock, Toprak didn't just complain, he presented a specific technical demand. He pushed Yamaha to immediately test a radical new Swingarm design. In the high-stakes world of MotoGP, the Swingarm is the spine of the bike's traction. By changing the stiffness and the way the component flexes under load, Toprak believed he could force the rear tire to bite into the asphalt rather than skating over it. This was a massive risk. Yamaha's technical team is traditionally slow and methodical, preferring long-term simulations over gut-feeling changes. But Toprak is a different kind of rider. He brings a unique perspective from the production-based world where mechanical feel triumphs over electronic perfection. He argued that a stiffer Swingarm would give him the stability he needs to survive his own aggressive braking. The tension reached a fever pitch as the parts were flown in last minute. The team knew that if this didn't work, there was no plan B for the 2026 season. However, the twist that followed would change the championship narrative entirely, as the results of the test began to leak. Yet the real pressure wasn't just coming from the bike, it was coming from the expectations of an entire nation. As the first Turkish rider in MotoGP, Toprak carries the weight of millions of fans who expect him to do to MotoGP what he did to the superbike world, dominate. But the paddock is a shark tank. Rivals from Ducati and KTM were reportedly watching his struggles with a mix of respect and predatory interest. They knew that if Yamaha couldn't fix the M1's traction issues, Toprak's talent would be wasted in a battle for 15th place. Inside the Pramac Yamaha garage, the atmosphere was thick. Toprak's teammate, the veteran Jack Miller, was providing valuable data, but even Miller, a man known for his ability to find grip where others can't, was struggling to make the V4 behave. The media criticism was beginning to mount, with some suggesting that Toprak's height, at 185 centimeters, was creating an aerodynamic drag that the M1's new engine couldn't overcome. Every mistake was being magnified, every slow lap analyzed by millions on social media. But what happened during the final hour of the Jerez test left even his closest team members stunned. As the sun began to set over the Andalusian hills, Toprak went out for one final run with the experimental Swingarm. This was the moment of truth. He wasn't just fighting his rivals, he was fighting the very machine he had dreamed of riding for years. On his third lap, the telemetry lit up green. He was braking later than ever, the rear wheel dancing in the air, but this time, as he hit the apex and opened the throttle, the bike didn't spin. It lunged forward. The traction trap had finally been sprung. By demanding a more aggressive mechanical setup, Toprak had found a window of performance that the Japanese engineers hadn't even considered. He was pushing the M1 to its absolute physical limits, using his height to shift weight in ways the simulations said were impossible. But the breakthrough came with a terrifying price. To make the bike work, Toprak had to ride with such intensity that his heart rate was hitting levels rarely seen in the paddock. He was taming the beast, but he was doing it through sheer, exhausting willpower. Yet this was only the beginning of a far bigger storm, because while the traction was back, the V4 engine was about to reveal its true, darker nature. Yamaha has found a path forward, but the road is paved with uncertainty. The new Swingarm proved that Toprak's instincts were right, but it also exposed how far the factory still has to go to catch the dominant European manufacturers. The V4 engine project is a work in progress, and while the traction issues have been mitigated, the blue shift revolution is still in its infancy. As the team packs their crates for the next round, the mood is no longer one of despair, but of cautious, high-tension hope. Toprak Razgatlioglu has proven he is not just a superbike guy trying his luck. He is a technical leader capable of steering a factory's future. But in MotoGP, better is not enough. You have to be perfect. The 2026 season is a long, brutal journey, and the physical toll of Toprak's aggressive style on the unrefined V4 remains a major concern for the team's medical staff. The Paddock Whispers have changed from "can he do it" to "how long can he keep this up?" Yamaha gave Toprak the power he asked for, but in doing so, they may have created a monster that even the world champion can't tame for an entire race distance. The battle for the soul of the M1 has only just begun.